Welcome, Stefano. I will like to welcome Ian, which is a part of the International Obstacle Sports Federation. Welcome, Ian. And also Carlos and Mafalda from the Portuguese Federation. Welcome. And thank you very much for joining this webinar.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Obrigado.
So you know how to speak. Okay, so let me start with you, Ian. So I want to ask you a short brief about yourself and your role in the federation that you represent.
Sure. I have to be very brief about my background. I started in sports governance in 1984. I started competing in Olympic sport technically when I was 6 years old in football. My grandfather was a national federation president for football, and then in cycling, and then later as a professional athlete, and now coming full circle back into sports governance since 2014.
Just give me a second, Sergio. I think we don't have sound in Facebook.
Já corrigi, já estão todos com som.
It's already. Sorry, Ian. So, thank you very much for your brief explanation. So, how are you dealing in terms of the International Federation? How are you dealing with the COVID-19 situation?
The most obvious thing about the pandemic is the lack of events, physical events. This is bad for the community, the event producers and the federations, but it's actually quite good for the opportunity for obstacle sports to grow internationally. The silver lining to the cloud, if you understand the saying, is that we have moved very quickly during COVID to put more of the sport systems together.
Yeah. So now we are waiting for more things to come, right?
We are. Do I need to let you interpret, or is it live interpretation?
No, I do. It's live. So we have. Let me just speak in Portuguese. Sérgio, nós temos a tradução, certo?
Não. Não.
No?
No
translation.
Não, sem tradução.
No translation. Okay.
So maybe you want to do a translation, or let me know.
Okay, I will. Don't worry. Okay, thank you very much. I will go now to Stefano. Hello, Stefano. So we would like to know a short brief about yourself and also the role, and continue with the things that we were discussing with Ian. How are you dealing with this COVID-19?
Sure. And I started moving around the OCR world in 2015, first as a non-competitive athlete. Then I started competing and helping with marshalling. Now I am also an instructor. In Italy, I go around helping as much as I can in every way I can. I became president of European Federation last February, and basically my role and the role of the board of Europe is to coordinate activity with all national federations, be the middle line of communication between World Obstacles, so Ian and the national federation. We want to help smallest nations to grow, hopefully with the help of biggest nations. And our ultimate goal is to spread OCR as much as we can. As for COVID situation, I can speak for situation in Italy. I do not clearly have a view on the whole Europe, unfortunately. As Ian said, the worst thing was the lack of events, but I agree with him that without events, we were able to focus on other things that were left behind in the past. So it was really clear how different was the pace we worked at. So there were bad things and good things at the same time with this situation.
Yeah, so now we are also expecting new things and things to come back to normal and so on, so that we continue to have OCRs and also to continue the development of the work that you, Stefano, is doing, and also Ian, regarding the world of the OCR. So I will pass now to Carlos. Hello, Carlos.
Hello.
Welcome. So Carlos is already it's not an unusual guest here in the Federation webinars, but I will ask you to introduce yourself with a short brief and also your role in the Federation.
Yeah, okay. I don't understand OCR because I was for 28 years kickboxing, so it's my sport. But I was was vice president of the Federation of Kickboxing in Portugal. And last year, Carlos invited me to come here and to develop the formation, giving the courses and so on, and start with the federation in international contacts. And my goal is putting OCR in schools. That's what I try to do in my part. I hope we are right now with good negotiations with the government to the end of the year give one course for trainers and so on. So our goal is to improve the OCR in Portugal. With Andrea has told, we have some events coming up and good wins.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So how are you dealing with this COVID-19 situation?
Bad. We stay at home most of the time. Sometimes I run to clear up my mind. But the things are open here in Portugal. We hope in September some events will take place, and next year it's good. So it's good for us, this pandemic, because we can do the documentation, translate the rules, speak with promoters, do some job for the first year. Yeah. We are very young federation, so we have a long way to.
And we know that we have the support of both European and international federations here.
Yeah. See, it's good. You are here because we are not alone. Yeah, we have others, European and international. So, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Ian and Stefano, for all your help and support. Okay, so Mafalda, introduce yourself, please. Yeah.
So, like my father, I only knew the children's OCR, the ones in playgrounds, or you have the monkey bars or you jump, and I was never good at it. So I turned to basketball, where I played for 12 years probably, until my niece told me I was too old to do it. So I took a coaching degree, and I've been coaching kids whenever I have time. I like coaching the little kids, seeing them grow into the sports and just turn into young athletes is just very fulfilling. After my father was invited, I also knew Carlos from events in the kickboxing world. He invited me to help him with international parts. Ian and Stefano know me as the one who keeps bugging them with messages and emails. And I'm also part of the commercial department that goes bugging other people for sponsorships and helping with the development of the sports. So the follow-up question will be, how am I doing?
Exactly.
I think although it has a lot of bad parts, the not being able to host events, not being able to travel to other events in terms of athletes' points, But in terms of federation, it's actually a ground zero, the level 1, level 0, where we can get in touch with the bases, get in touch with all the regulation that we need, the referees the marshals, the coaches, everything, so that when it does start, we have everything ready to start well.
Yeah, because also the background of an OCR, so it's not only having obstacles and athletes in this case, we always have a background job, right? So the supervisors, the marshals and so on, so all of those things require regulation.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing as we are now a federation and we want to be in the same page as the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, it's very important that we start to bring those rules, not new rules, but in some cases new rules, to our own playground. So when athletes do qualify to go and participate in international events, they don't feel surprised with the rules that they are supposed to follow. So that's the most important thing about this level 1 of the federation.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's important to understand that regulations are for fairness and safety.
Yeah.
A lot of people
exactly.
don't understand that. And also for development. And I think Mafalda and Carlos, who are doing an amazing job building the foundation for us, a good federation. And it's fantastic to see you reaching out to Stefano and myself for help, because this, I think, is the way it works best, when we all work together. And then we have unity in how we approach the sport and feedback, because we need everyone's feedback. This is by and for the athletes and the event producers and the community, and it only works when we work together.
Yeah, because you never know what's happening here if people don't come, they don't reach you, right? And they don't give your feedback and don't get your support here. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know who.
I was just going to say that so far we've been able to establish a good relationship with both bases. So it's been really important. And the fact that we have WhatsApp groups and groups on Google Meets, it allows a different level of communication.
Yeah.
That's been really interesting in the development of our own family.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm quite pleased to see, Carlos, that you came from another sport, because sports governance is about sport. It's not the sport that you came from necessarily. Yeah. And I did not come from obstacle. I competed at a world level in cycling and sailing and triathlon, but this is not where I came from. Yeah. And having that knowledge is very useful, because any sport has similar requirements at a very basic level: youth development and safety and medical and health and wellness.
Yeah.
And
it's an universal language, right?
It is. This one's a very good one.
Yeah, true.
And the thing is, he coming from such a contact building sports where safety is the most important thing, and having medics on the go because someone will break their nose or dislocate a shoulder. He knows the safety is what matters the most, so it gives a safety net.
Kickboxing gives us ethic. It's a sport with respect. Both they fight, yes, but it's one of the most ethical sports. I was referee and very good. It's I have to take ethics to here, respect and helpful, and that's my goal.
And one thing that it's good here in OCR, and well, we do see it in other sports, but here it's different because I'm an OCR athlete, and what we see here, and we know that we are all competitors, but here we don't have a competition. Here we try to help each other to do the obstacle, right? So if you see someone struggling with one obstacle and you are there like for 1 hour, then probably the other person says, come on, you can do it, or do like this, and so on. So we don't have competition here, which is good, which is really good. Yeah. So it's like we are a big family, because we are.
We are. I have a question for Carlos and Mafalda. Have you talked to My Next Match?
My next match? I don't think so. Is this a possible sponsor, as possible friends?
Yes, a friend, yes. They're providing membership services and medical ID for free for national federations. Very important. Carlos knows this because it's required by combat sports. It should be required by all sports. At some levels it is, for Olympic level, for example, and for our international level. And in Italy, it's the same. When you compete in Italy, you have to have a minimum level of medical safety, and you have to have a certification from a doctor. And Stefano can explain more, but this is very common. It's the same in Russia, it's the same in many countries. So it's an important function of sport to provide that. And we have a global platform working with My Next Match. No cost to you. Eventually, it costs them money. So eventually there will be a transaction fee, like a registration fee kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes it very cheap, and the federation doesn't pay for it. But it helps you with your memberships and the functions that membership provides, including medical ID, which means that when someone goes to Italy next year to compete at the European Championships and they have that, it makes it very, very easy because it's all on an international platform.
Yeah, that's really cool.
This is a very valuable friend. Thank you.
A valuable partner with FISO. We have many. We haven't not announced many, but we have many very good development partners that provide sport functions, which are normally extremely expensive. But we're very fortunate as a Swiss non-profit that we get many things for free. Like our workspace platform is completely free, and all the emails we provide are completely free. And there's many functions in there that we haven't even announced. Zoom actually will be one of them. That'll be a free service from us.
And
for us too?
Yeah,
everyone gets to use it.
Good news.
I can't wait to go and search all the new functions, because I have only been able to set it up with all the things that have been happening in my own personal life and other prioritizing things in the Federation. I haven't been able to go and really look through it, but with the new announcement that you just made, I need to hurry up and go find it.
Unfortunately, it's been a little bit difficult to coordinate all the countries in one place. We have the platform and we're about halfway there, I think. So only about half of the countries are on the platform at the moment. But the more that are on the platform, the easier it gets. And it's required, as you know. And for the athletes out there, what this does for you is it allows all of the national federations in over 100 countries to communicate and share useful information to make the sport better.
Yeah, we already benefited from it when we had the older platform. I don't really recall the name because we only were there for a couple of months. The amount of information that was shared, the amount of even just possible training circuits and things that have been happening in Asia, possible online events that were only unable to go forward with it because at the time all the gyms were closed in Portugal, but it already brings a lot of benefit and a lot of interesting stuff that we can bring to the athletes.
That's right. An example, since you brought up Asia, is that in the Philippines, they have an Olympic training center. Everyone's invited. It's free. If you go to Manila, Philippines,
it's in the plans.
You first need to get there, but that's a good plan.
You can train at a training center for free.
Yeah, they were the ones that are working the hardest, not the hardest, but have a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So Anthony, right? He's the one that's always publishing and sharing things. I watched a webinar he did on the environmental benefits that can come from practicing OCR and how it helps. And he even gave a lot of examples. Like athletes having the experience that they have in races, being able in, unfortunately, natural disasters, being able to help the first responders and the police in tracking and helping save people. So that's a really interesting base that not a lot of people are aware that can help them, especially now that the world seems to be collapsing on itself.
That's right. That's Alberto Agra, who is the president of the Philippines and Asia Pacific. So he's very, very progressive. I believe the Philippine organization is the most advanced of all federations worldwide. They're a member of their Olympic Committee of the National Sporting Association, and they have every sport function more than many recognized federations that work. Like, as you said, an example is their athletes build bridges for communities where a bridge gets washed away in a flood.
Yeah.
They do things like that, which is what we should do. We should all help our communities.
Yeah.
We're training to do it. Let us get back to the race, and probably we have 1 or 2 bridges next year.
Well, let's not forget Italy, because Italy is one of the most advanced national federations as well. They've been around, I think, maybe one of the oldest. In fact, we had a World Championships with in Italy in I think it might have been 2018 in Sardinia. It didn't last very long because there was other problems, but that was nothing to do with Italy. So maybe Stefano, you could explain some of the things that you're doing.
We are doing, yeah. Well, the Italy Federation was born in 2017, if I recall well, or late 2016, and then European Federation was born in 2017 in Olbia, Sardinia. The year before we held this little World Championship in Sardinia as well, where I do remember athletes from Philippines were invited. I do remember them very well. We also were the first or one of the first nations to have a national championship. So where races from different organizers were put together for a common ranking. And we are now at the 5th or 6th year of this competition being held. This year we have 7 races. 4 of them have already been held, 3 to go. Hopefully, if COVID will allow us, this year we will be able to complete the championship. We are also organizing little championships at regional level, then other championships with smaller races. There are leagues for races held in training facilities where races are not long more than 1 kilometer, so they last 10-15 minutes. Everything is going in the way of specialization of athletes. So there will be athletes who run better when the races are 15 kilometers long, than athletes for the 3 kilometers, athletes for the ninja or short track. Everything to come to the next European Championship more than prepared. We are also modifying the rules of our standard races using what FISO is suggesting, or with a little modification. We are starting to use the rankings that FISO suggests. So we are aligning fast with what World Obstacle is saying. It's needed for us to be recognized as a sport, which is our ultimate goal, to evolve from a discipline to a game to a real sport and go to Olympics.
That's exactly right. We probably should talk about the next 5 years.
Yeah, I wanted to go there. Yeah. So where do you see OCR in 5 years?
Well, I think many federations know, but not many athletes know, that we have been working with the Global Association for International Sports Federations, that's GAIS, since 2017, I think it was. Might have been earlier, 16, for membership. Now, what that means is that as a member of GAIS, we then can be accepted or will be accepted by the International Olympic Committee as a member if we meet the criteria. And Stefano mentioned some of the criteria. Standardization for world level competition or high level competition is necessary. That our progress has been very good, and we believe, we've actually been told that we've satisfied all criteria to be a member. So now we understand it's a procedural matter for voting in councils and committees in GAIS to be recognized. That of course is extremely good because it's very hard to do. Most people say, even GAIS says it can take 30 years to do that. There is a new application system that was implemented in 2019, so we had to restart our application in 2019. So we've done it in 2 years, basically, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's easy to understand. When you're an obstacle athlete, whether you're OCR or Ninja or adventure racing, the sport is quite big. And if you look at European championships as a good example, the championships are very good. And we, in Denmark in 2018, the National Olympic Committee and the Athletics Federation were invited to observe the European Championships, and they were very impressed. In fact, the Danish Athletic Federation said at the end of the competition that they learned a lot from us. So thanks to EOSF and Denmark in that case. And of course, it gets better every year. In various ways. So Poland was fantastic, and I truly believe Italy will be our best European championships yet.
And you, Stefano? Where do you see OCR in 5 years?
I have to agree with Ian because it's also my dream to see OCR at the Olympics.
Yeah.
5 years will mean Paris 2024. That's a bit short time. Only 3 years to go. Maybe we will not be able to make it. Maybe yes, but that's our goal. If we are not going to make it for the next 3 years, we'll definitely be able to for the next Olympics in 2028, which is Los Angeles, I think.
That is correct. Yeah. One thing that's important to understand is being recognized as a sport is different from having medal events at a Summer Olympic Games. So after recognition, a sport can campaign for medal events. Theoretically, Los Angeles in 2028 is possible, theoretically. Of course, we would like that. We're doing everything we can to make it happen, but we have to be recognized first. Part of that requirement is that 75 of our member countries have to have National Olympic Committee recognition. That is actually quite easy once we're recognized by GAIS. So within a year or so, I'm hoping, we will achieve, most of our national federations will achieve Olympic Committee recognition in their country. So in Portugal, and I think Carlos will have a lot more understanding and connections actually, which is very important for Portugal.
Yeah.
Which comes to my next question that you already answered it. So where do you see, when can we expect OCR? So what is the relationship between the International Federation and the International Olympic Committee?
Well, there's no formal, there is no relationship at this point, no formal relationship. I do talk to people within the International Olympic Committee, as many people do, So we talked to the International Sport Department. I happen to sort of know the guy who runs that. He's a Kiwi Australian, so and I'm an Australian amongst other things. So we talked to the Sport Department and various other pieces of the International Olympic Committee and other international organizations in sport like WADA. Yeah. We have a good relationship with the WADA. This is the World Anti-Doping Authority. We have a good relationship with their International Relations Department. And because of that, we can use their system is called ADEL, which is a training system for athletes. So, or anyone of any member of FISO, so any athlete basically, or anyone else in Portugal who works with your organization, or Italy, or any other country, can go through the WADA athlete training program. It's free, it's online, we provide the login, and it's also required to compete in our world championships. So you have to show your certificate of completion that you passed the WADA training. So that's an example of what an informal relationship that we have with another international organization that will be required anyway. So these are things that we get to do when we talk to people and organizations in the International Olympic Committee or WADA or other sports organizations.
Yeah. And how important is the regulation of OCR to start to be standardized around the world? Even I will go to Carlos and Mafalda to ask if in Portugal this is already being done. But now that I'm with you, Ian, and I would also like to receive the input from Stefano regarding this, the importance of the regulation of OCR.
Well, Stefano said it. It's necessary.
Yeah.
So it's critical. Has to be done.
Critical. Yeah.
Yeah, critical. We can't do it without standardization. But we have to be very clear. Part of the goal of the sport and what makes OCR and other obstacle sports like ninja so attractive is that they're always changing.
Yeah.
They're unexpected. We want innovation. We want change. We want obstacles to keep being different and new and fun, and courses. So that won't change. Our job is to help make that happen. There's many sports like this. Mountain biking courses are never the same. But in cycling, the track never changes. Same in athletics.
Yeah.
Mountain running, never the same. But the 100 meters never changes. That's like obstacles. So our 100 meters is standard. Most of the things that most people do is not. It's changing, it's evolving, it's fun, it's exciting, it's different, innovate. I imagine in Italy we'll see some crazy, wonderful obstacles that we've never seen before. And that's what we want. The standards are more about safety and fairness.
Yeah,
wait for Portugal.
Okay.
Yeah, because we run like it's a good. The good thing about OCR is that we run, I don't know, 1 kilometer, and you never know the obstacle that you are going to catch. Yeah. So you can have a monkey bar or you can have rings, so you never know. You only know the ones that you can see when you are there in the start line or in the finish line. But during those, and we have here courses of 10 races of 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers, nothing more than that. So we do know, or we do see what's there in the beginning, but during those 10 kilometers, come on, you can have 3 obstacles that you never saw in your life. So it's the good part of OCR.
It's a wonderful part of the sport, which I absolutely love as well. A question many people ask is, but why do you have a standard course like the 100 meters that never changes? And the answer is, Stefano actually said it earlier, people specialize. For some people who want to do very fast, very dynamic races like 100 meters, many people also want to be able to get a record. So a national record, a continental record, an age group record, a world record. You can only do that if the course never changes. So for an event like that, the course doesn't change. But you could have 100 meters, a different style of 100 meters where it always changes. It's just a different race. You can't hold a record, but it would be really fun because you wouldn't know what you're going to do necessarily.
Yeah, true. So Carlos, is in Portugal, what is being done regarding the regulation of OCR?
We are translate the regulation. We are talking with the event promoters to tell them the need for adaptation to the new rules.
Yeah.
It was very well accepted. Very well accepted because they want this work too.
Yeah.
So I think we are translate a lot of things that you gave us to translate to try. So it's in a good way.
Stefano was quick to understand that the competition rules for OCR at the international level help provide fairness and actually make it easier to judge the obstacles. So Stefano, you've seen both sides and have tried both rules. What's your opinion?
Well, honestly, it took me some months to understand and digest the rules that FISO suggested, because it was good that I had that time to understand before making it public, so I can help making others understand. All the rules were obstacles, so where we could try obstacles many times were good on one side because it was also more fun, and for people with less experience it was a way to gain it, but for judges it was a nightmare. For the public who was watching was not so appealing to see many people in queue, many try. The new rules where you can try obstacles one time only are difficult for some athletes because they do not have enough experience or because anything can happen. But they are good for judges because it is easier to understand what is going on. Athletes never stay at an obstacle for longer than needed, so also the amount of people there is not that much. Crowd is people do not assemble, and with this regulation it will also be more easy to get maybe sponsors, to get attention from televisions or from media, and it will be challenging to make all the people accept this new set of rules. That is why here in Italy we are using a subset, not the full regulation suggested with FISO, so we can make people adapt little by little. I understand that this is a change that is needed because the sport, at least at elite level, needs to have certain standards. So at least for elite athletes or athletes who think about themselves as elite, this is something they needed.
I agree. So people understand the background to the rules. We started trying them in the United States in 2017, and it was actually it was used for the first time at their national championships at a Spartan race. So the elite waves only were the championship race, which is what Stefano was saying, which is, I believe, correct. So they used the international rules and changed obstacles because Spartan race is not the same as OCR in most countries. And so we made the course a little bit different and used the international rules. Our experience in 2017 was the elites universally loved the rules because they're elite. They know how to get through the obstacles. Getting through is not a question.
Yeah.
It's how fast you can get through. So they loved it. And then we did it in Asia for Asian champs since 2018. Now Asia uses the rules basically because they started with those rules. So that continental region uses the rules already. And now bringing them into Europe is very good because that means all the major continents will have the same rules for elite competition and championship races. It doesn't make sense for most athletes because most athletes are not elite and most athletes are not competing at championship races. But if you come to a world championships or a European championships and you qualified, you should be able to complete everything. That shouldn't be the question. The question is how proficient are you? How good are you? How skilled are you? How fast are you? Like all other sports like this, it's not can you finish the mountain bike? It's how fast can you do it?
It's about time.
Actually, Stefano said something really curious about him having a difficulty in adjusting to the new rules. But he had to do it in order to explain to others why they were important. And people sometimes forget that the higher ups, let's call it, also have to try the rules in order to implement them and tell them that they are good. So this is not something that just came out of nowhere. Didn't someone just, oh, let's just cut the number of tries. That didn't happen. There was a trial period where actual success was accomplished. So it's really interesting that you mentioned it because I think it's important for athletes to remember that the ones guiding the rules most of the times are athletes too, and they do try to comprehend what is happening. But if we take in consideration the amount of time that people have been stuck at home without going to gyms, we can maybe cross our fingers and think that they forgot all the other old rules and are ready for the new ones.
There's another piece that confirmed our experience with the competition rules. In the 2019 Southeast Asia Games, which is recognized by the International Olympic Committee, those rules were accepted. So we already know that they can be accepted at Olympic level because a games recognized by the International Olympic Committee is the highest level of the sport wherever those games are. In this case, it's the 11 countries in Southeast Asia. But the rules, they worked well. People who had not seen the sport didn't think twice. There was no waiting. There's no people standing in line trying to get through something. When they see that, they're confused because you don't see that in sport. You don't see people waiting. Waiting is not racing. It's a different thing.
It's important considering the amount of interest that OCR has brought up on the world, the amount of people that we have seen interested in wanting to try and just wanting to sign up to gyms or events. It's better that we have a better flow of the race in order to don't have like thousands of people just waiting for that one person to cross. That's really important and brings a lot of dynamics to the race, and you won't get bored and you won't lose that spike of energy that you're having just because you have to wait in order to be your turn. So it's important to see the good sides. And if you fall, well, there's mud fault.
Mud is good for your skin.
So they say.
That's what I think every time I have mud on my skin.
Oh, a spa treatment.
Yeah. Skincare.
I think most people know at this point, but our Ninja World Championships was postponed again because of COVID. That just happened last week. We were always encouraging Russia to do that because we thought that this might happen, and it happened. And then the FISO OCR World Championships, same thing, postponed to 2021. Oh, hang on, we're in 21.
Oh,
20.
we're 21.
I lost the year. I don't know where it went. 2022. It's still in Russia. This is now postponed for the third year. So second year, 19 to 20, 20 to 21, third year. So the agreements have been around for many years now, and we can't not do it for many reasons. Yes. But we get questions about Russia. Why in Russia? And it's fairly easy to answer. The question that we most commonly get is, well, isn't Russia bad because of doping? And our answer is very straightforward. Russia is not bad, and OCR is not doesn't have a doping problem. The international news is around the Russian anti-doping authority being sanctioned by the World Anti-Doping Authority, and consequently any sports where the Russian Anti-Doping Authority, which is RUSADA, who have been working with RUSADA. And that's only sports with medal events at games. OCR is not involved at all. In fact, if you think about the athletes in Russia, it's incredibly frustrating because they know they're clean, they know their sport is healthy, but people point the finger at them for things other people did, and it's really not fair. So what we want to do is help the community in Russia with events like the one behind me, which are fantastic events, and their capabilities are amazing in event production and execution. So we want to support obstacle athletes everywhere in the world. And Russia, being quite a big country with very good capabilities, we want to support them. We want to help them in an environment that appears quite bad from the outside. But when you go to Russia, which I hope everyone does, it's fantastic. The events are amazing.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
It's quite inexpensive actually, because of the ruble is not valued very much, so it's quite inexpensive. And
yeah. In terms of currency, there's an advantage there. Let this all this fog called COVID clear skies, and maybe that's something that most athletes can consider, and even federation can consider.
Yeah.
So something that not many OCR athletes have seen is big crowds. The Ninja World Championships, we had 100,000 spectators.
Okay.
Yeah, at least countries like ours, they are still small and still growing. They're definitely not accustomed.
But we have a
huge
huge amount of people watching.
Not 100,000.
No, of course not. Probably we will get there.
We do have like some giraffes and some lions. Well, run for your life.
Well, now we are not allowed to have public, so let's see how it goes. So, Stefano, I have a question for you. So, what can we expect from the 2022 European Championship in Italy?
The highest standard course so far, and the fastest short course, definitely. I went there at the venue. I tracked the short course, and I can assure you it will be fast, really fast, as per request from FISO. And then there will be this new set of rules, so different from the other years. When there was one band for athletes with limitless attempts for all obstacles. We will have 3 bands for each athlete. Limitless attempt for almost all the obstacles, but 1 attempt only for obstacles when you have to swing, for suspension obstacles, monkey bars, multi-rig, etc. The ones that were causing the longest queue, the longest waiting line.
Yeah.
Another change will be the team race. It has been a relay up until now. In Italy, it will be a cooperation of the team will be formed by 3 people, as always, but it will not be a relay. All the 3 people will start and arrive together. They will cooperate at each and every obstacle to overcome it. And of course, there will be the 100 meters short race. So almost everything will be as we are used to see with these changes. There's new rules, the change in the nature of the team race. The location is wonderful. It's deep in the mountain. There will be mountain lakes, so water will play a part as well. It was a location where Winter Olympics were held before, so it has everything needed to accommodate thousands of athletes and the people that will travel with them. I hope in 2022 we will get to hold the championship after 2 years of waiting.
Stefano, is your 100 meters, you're doing a standard course or a different course?
What do you mean standard?
The 100 meter standard course, the one that,
okay.
The fixed course.
I think actually we haven't decided on it yet. I know where it will be. It might be non-standard for the nature of the venue, but it's still yet to be confirmed.
I encourage you to try and do the standard one. So, gives more opportunity for athletes to get records. They could set national records, European records, maybe world records. They're going to be hard. World records would be very difficult, but they should be.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, I knew you would say that. And it's to confirm with the Italian Federation.
Of course. Carlos and Mafalda, did you see the Polish national championships for the 100 meters?
Oh, no, I didn't. When was it?
It was June last year. They had 84 million viewers.
Oh,
that's a lot.
That's a big number.
I'm not gonna. June last year, that's when we were being invited for the project.
I'll see ya. Good.
Yeah, we'll go.
Sounds interesting. Cognizant.
So we have a question from Andy Reed. It's one of the viewers, which is actually for me because it's my department, but I will go there after this one because I need to ask Carlos, where do you see OCR in Portugal here in 5 years?
It's written on my wall. Organize a European Championship, have 3 to 5 European Championship, 1 or 2 World Champion first.
Big goals.
For that, I need to bring OCR to schools. Regulation is critical. Normalization is critical. To do that, we need to achieve that. We need to formation, education, and training.
Yeah.
We have training courses for coaches, judges, and referees. And we need full speed to training athletes. If we do that with good sun, good wine, and good, we have our goal. 5 years. Okay, 6 years. 5, 6 years. We forget the COVID year. Yeah.
I know. It's the thing because time is passing.
Yeah, it's our goal. If we have this ambition, we work and we can do that. If we don't have ambition, no.
Does this mean you're going to hold an event in Porto?
Oh, Porto is one of the possibilities,
Yeah.
but in Lisbon and in center of Portugal, we have a lot of parks that can be
Yeah.
easily, even
Transformed.
well,
let's say.
not easily adapted for a race without really disturbing what is actually there.
Yeah.
So we have that advantage.
Fala aqui que eu link aqui em Cascais.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to talk about it because we do have, I don't know, Mafalda, if you want to continue or if I can
just
go.
I just wanna ask a follow-up question to Stefano and Ian, because Carlos keeps bringing up the OCR to schools, and I know it's a possible project for him because he has done this before. So, but what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any projects? Have you ever thought about it? Because for him, this was like the thing to go when he first accepted the invitation. Like, I want to bring this to schools. So what's your intake?
Yeah, we actually work with several countries doing this. The Philippines is the most advanced at the moment for OCR in schools up to universities.
Oh,
So work with Al Agra. He has a huge amount of information because they're already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it with Jamaica as well. The Jamaican school sporting system is the most advanced that we know of in the world. That system produced Usain Bolt. And if you look at sprinters in the world and athletes in athletics, most of the scholarships in the world are recruited, the athletes are recruited from the Jamaican National High School Championship. There are dozens of recruiters from dozens and dozens of schools in lots of countries go to that championships every year. So we're using their system, or they invited us to work with them for their system to include obstacle. So what you'll find in a few years is you'll find some extraordinary sprinters in obstacle, 100-meter obstacle athletes coming out of Jamaica, because we're already starting the programs for developing athletes from a very, very young age. The Philippines already started. They started this about 3 years ago to develop young athletes starting in schools. So there's some good examples of what's already happened.
That's a truly important piece of information because it really brings the OCR to the level of other sports that's been around for a lot of time. And it brings a lot of opportunities for kids that may not have the same opportunities as others. So
and it's
thank
good
you for
because
sharing.
It's good because you are not alone in the world. No, so you're not. You can learn. You can learn.
And Carlos, in Jamaica and in the Philippines, we work with their Olympic committees. So if that's something you need assistance with, you may not.
Yeah.
That you're very well connected, but we can help because we are quite well connected at the Olympic level in many countries.
Okay. I agree. I accept the help.
Okay, I would love to come over.
yeah, and the thing that I'm seeing here, and Carlos probably, well, it's not probably, but definitely it's a good thing because we are opening here some parks that have obstacles where people can train for free, or people can train. And when I go there, I see a lot of children playing. So they do have that curiosity, and then the parents are helping them, even though they don't know how to do it. But we do see a lot of children trying it, which is really good. So applying that in schools, it will raise the awareness of OCR and also for their personal life. Because at least for me, personally, I see OCR as, I don't know, I have an obstacle, which it turns out to be easy, right? So that's a good knowledge for them as well.
Have you seen Obstacle in a Box?
Yes, we have. Yeah. I was so excited when I saw the Obstacle in a Box, and I think I sent like 1,000 messages to our group saying, this is happening, see this, and I sent them videos. That's especially because they don't only have a generic box. Oh my God. boxing one, they have 4 different athletes, grown men and women, children, disabled. So that really opens up a lot of paths.
So we started this as an idea. It was originally a discussion about virtual reality and augmented reality, but it took a different direction. The conversation became, how can we send obstacles to countries that need obstacles but can't get obstacles?
Yeah.
So we decided we'd put them in a very small shipping container that crosses the ocean and make them fit inside a 10-foot container. That's why it's called Obstacle in a Box. But it has another thing, because CrossFit boxes are a box, and it's really it's more like a CrossFit box. It's more like an obstacle box. So it's sort of 2 things in one. And as you might have seen, Al Agra in the Philippines has made many of them and put them in schools and in parks. And we have a project with Saudi Arabia. We want to do this with Jamaica. And we have another project in the United States where we might put them in 260 locations. This can also be, and we're working on a standard, because you can compete, as you probably saw the videos, you can use them for competition as well as training. And kids love them because it's like a kid's playground.
Yeah.
So it has many uses, and it's started to take on its own life. Although we started with the idea to make it a charitable thing, it should still be charitable, but it allows another form of competition that's starting to exist. Very cheap, but very, very cheap, because it's really one big complicated obstacle. You don't need 20 obstacles to make a race. You can just do it with one.
Yeah.
What you said about children is actually very interesting, because I think that the pandemic has made a reset to what being a child really is, because they used to spend all of their time outside of the
Playground.
out of their own homes, being in school, being in classes, just being there. They just wanted to be at home. Now they're stuck at home, but they don't have playground, so they go to the next best thing that actually brings children to the streets again.
Yeah, it's like Luis Martins, which is one of the viewers of Facebook, says that the future are children, right? So children are reflecting the future.
We are not actually working for us. We are working for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I want my first idea is OCR to schools.
What about in Italy and in Europe? Have you seen this growth in OCR in schools?
In
Or
schools,
is it still growing?
In schools, unfortunately not, because I to say, sports culture here is difficult. Most of the kids want to play football, or if we are lucky, athletics. So it will be difficult to enter school. But in small realities, this is happening. Maybe not in an official way, but for example, now in summer, many school or many churches organize and collect their children and take them to our obstacle training facilities for a change. Perhaps they take one day them to a pool, the day after to a park, the day after to an OCR training facility. This is a small step, but still a step forward. And let me say that for European Federation, the youth development is a priority. So we are thinking and working with programs also to collect funds for young, promising athletes. This is a priority.
Actually, what we mentioned at the beginning of the session, that all sports have a common background, and what changes is the actual sport itself. When I was coaching a youth team of basketball, there were kids, I think the youngest was 5 and the oldest was 9 or 10. They had a lot of foot coordination for basketball, so I invited a kickboxing teacher to do a crossover and teach a lot of foot coordination. So there's an exchangeable thing that can be done between sports. Like one day we're going to a football field and play football, but the other we're going to an obstacle and just let kids experiment in all the things that they can try and can do. So there's a lot of possibilities in sports crossover and federations communication.
And also because we are inclusive, right? And talking about not only for children, but also with the para athletes. So we are an inclusive sport, so we need to know the limits. So we do have a question here from Andy, and that's why I'm going to reply, because Andy is asking, what has the Portuguese Federation done to encourage para athletes within the sport of OCR? Well, here, and as we all know, we are a new and young federation. So we were created as a federation during the pandemic situation, so we don't have OCRs here at the moment. So the thing that we want to do now, and what we are encouraging, is that we are inviting the para athletes to go to participate in our events, even if it's an OCR or the events that we will have now in the end of July, for instance, which is the OCR for all weekend, where we want them to participate because we need to know their limits or the limitations, and we also need to follow some regulations that FISO has. But we need to know the limits because we do know that we have limitations, whether if it's physical, psychological. So we do have some different limitations that we need to understand which ones, so that we can adapt the obstacles here. And that's why we also follow, and what we will do as well, because we are, and I am checking because I am responsible of that area here in the federations, that I am seeing the regulations of the FISO. So we are following that. So that's why we are inviting the para-athletes to participate.
I'm not sure if you know, but Andy is on the FISO para committee.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure Carlos knows very well, para is very complicated. It's mostly to do with classification. We've got a working relationship with triathlon at the international level. The two of the people who created basically the template for para classification and rules at all Olympic level was triathlon. And they have some unusual requirements because there's 3 sports involved. That we looked at that and thought that it was the closest thing we could find to obstacle, because there's upper body, lower body, there's many things involved. So we have an ongoing conversation with triathlon about this, and they are very realistic about how this can work, but it's not trivial. It's actually quite complicated. But that's okay. We've been accepted by an IOC recognized para games already, which is the Asian para games. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they were cancelled. But we had trials, we had competitions, we had training and classification and all the things that we needed to do for those games. But that was in 2019, so nothing has happened since, except the discussions about how to make it practical. And I think the solution is you start quite small. Spartan does it quite well. They don't really follow international rules, but it doesn't matter. They provide very good races for para. I think in races in the United States, at least, it would be rare not to see para athletes. And then in their biggest race in Laughlin, Nevada, they have hundreds of them. And that's mostly because the US military is so big that they have a lot of injured veterans. And you see that in quite a few countries. Actually, you see a lot in Asia, because there have been many wars in Asia and Africa, where medical is not very advanced. So there are regions where there's many, many people with disabilities.
Yeah, and one of the things, and sorry, Mafalda, that we are also doing here regarding the para athletes is that because we do ask them to join the federation, because you have there the form to fill, so that we can also be aware of how many of para athletes are aware of this sport and wants to try this sport. So it's still a long way to go, but we are following well. We are starting now, so we still have a lot to learn. So Mafalda, I don't know if you want to add here.
Oh, I think the most important step is bringing the subject to the table to be discussed and recognizing that it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But people are ready to accept it, and our people are ready to try and figure things out. And the fact that the obstacle in the box already has that option, that's a big step that many people probably didn't even consider that could be an option. So yeah, nothing is lost and hope is on the table.
To give you an idea of how we started for the Asian Para Games is that we chose just one event to make it easy. Sorry about that. And then we chose a limited number of categories. Otherwise, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
So you can start with something like this. We chose the 100 meters, very easy to do. And then I think we had 3 categories. It was unsighted, so athletes with vision impairment. And it was also ambulatory, people who can move with their legs, and non-ambulatory. So there were 3 categories that were quite simple.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, it's really a good idea.
Yeah.
It's how we can start here as well.
Yeah.
So I do have one last question, Ian, because now we are gathering all the information that we have here, and thank you very much for both Stefano and Ian's input, and also Carlos and Mafalda. But what is the status of the 2020 FISO OCR World Cup? And a brief explanation of the concept of this competition.
You're talking about World Championships?
The World Cup. No, World Championship. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because we do know that it was postponed, right? You already said it.
Yeah, to 22.
Yeah.
The most recent location, which we hope to have next year, was close to Moscow.
Okay.
Ski resort, close to Moscow, so mountainous. Not very big mountains, but lots of good hills. The format for OCR, same as European Championships, pretty almost the same. So very short, fast 3K, 15K, or 12 to 15K, depending on possibly 100 meters. We're talking about maybe making that separate. Poland, who did very well last year.
Separately?
Separate, as different championships.
Okay.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing different championships. There's actually a much bigger thing going on, which I need to talk about. Some sports bring all of their disciplines together. We have 3 disciplines. So a discipline is a sub-sport. Ninja is not the same as OCR. It's a different sub-sport or discipline. Yeah. And adventure racing is not the same as any of them. But if you bring them together, then you have a games format. Like they call them multi-sport games. So 3 sports in one competition or one event, and each discipline, for example, OCR, we might have 100 meters, 3K, and 15K. So there would be 3 events of OCR. Ninja might have 100 meters, 160 meters. So they're events of Ninja, and adventure racing might have a 3-day stage race. So that's everything together. That would be an obstacle sports world championships. So that the obstacle sports world championships is OCR, Ninja, and adventure racing all together. We've got those discussions are very far advanced because we've been working on this for many years, and we're working on agreements for various countries. These are country agreements for the World Championships and then the World Series. And that's a much bigger thing than in each individual sport. It's done sometimes by some sports. Athletics sometimes does it, aquatic sometimes does it, cycling sometimes does it. But for cycling, the World Track Championships are not the Road Race World Championships, but sometimes they bring them all together.
Yeah.
So that's a bigger project that we're looking at. So separate from OCR World Championships would be Obstacle Sports World Championships. It makes it, eventually it has to go like that because there's too much involved for one. Like this, the Ninja World Championships by itself is a very big, complicated event.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to put other things with it until you have big sponsors and countries. So these relationships are with countries. They're not cities, they're not regions, they're countries.
We'll see how it goes, right?
Yes.
We'll see what time will tell.
Well, our plans are starting around 2022, so we'll see how we go. But we're quite confident.
Buy your ticket. Buy your ticket.
It's not really a secret. It's just that we're not going to make official announcements until we have things confirmed.
Yeah.
It's been very challenging the last 2 years to confirm anything.
Yeah.
I know, that's the thing, because we kept confirming things and then we had to postpone it and so on. So yeah, so I do get it. We are doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know, but we can't give a straight answer.
Yeah.
That's the thing here as well. Thank you very much, Ian, for your input. And thank you very much for some of the explanations, some of the news that we had here. And also Stefano for your input. So we are, well, what do we want? We want OCRs, right? We want us being athletes again, to be honest. So we'll see. Carlos and Mafalda, thank you very much also for joining
Pleasure.
and for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for
thank
having
you,
us.
Stefano. Thank you. Thank you for meeting.
And we'll see you soon, probably, hopefully as well.
Hopefully.
For me, you will probably hear from me sooner rather than later. Right? I'm the one popping up on your emails and messages. Hi.
She's the annoying one.
Yes.
Well, no, you are not.
Probably one.
No, but thank you very much and also for the work that you are doing, especially here in the Portuguese Federation, but also in FISO and the European one. So it's really good to see that OCR it's rising and it's being well known in the rest of the world, not only here. So thank you very much for your job as well.
Yeah, and thank you for supporting the new federations with guidance and the documents needed.
And patience.
Yeah, and patience. A lot of patience.
So I will finish this conversation because this is mainly a conversation. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you all, the ones that were viewing at home, and please be safe and that we all can see each other again in a OCR nearby. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Bye.
Bye.